Hello and welcome to Scarborough Theatre Guild's Let's Talk. Today we have Alison Overington with us, and I'm so pleased to have her with us because she's had so many different hats that she's worn working with the Guild. She's been a producer, she's done set decor, she's done stage management, front of house, she's been on the board. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Alison. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, and good evening.
So, I want to know more about these many hats that you've worn over the years. Can you tell us what first brought you to the Guild, and what were some of the things you started off with, and what are all of the wonderful roles and things that you've done since?
I started off as part of a makeup and dressing crew for Scarborough Choral Society 40 years ago, and I just realised it was 40 years very recently. A friend of mine had a beautiful singing voice, and she was part of the cast in Brigadoon. She told me that they were looking for makeup crew and dressers, and I said, I can do that. And I had some time to do it, and that was the beginning of everything, I suppose. Following that, I became stage manager. Again, I had never done this before. This is with Scarborough Players, and John Caldwell was the founder, he was the president, and he was the director of Anti-Maim. I went to a rehearsal, and he announced to everybody, I had heard previously though, that they were looking for a stage manager, and I said, I can do that. He took me on, which was very brave of him because I knew almost nothing about anything. And in those days it seemed to be a little easier to be taken on when you didn't know too much about things. So from there, I just seemed to go on and on. It seemed like the bug that some of us have, and if you're involved in community theatre, you're involved.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, you kind of waft in and out, maybe for a show once in a while, but it's not quite the same thing. So from Scarborough Players, I was stage manager for a number of years there, and moved over to Theatre Guild. Once in Theatre Guild, I basically spent my time producing and doing set decoration. One of my my first floor was for Gaslight, which was for Scarborough Players. And up until that point, community theatre seemed to be a lot more naive than we are these days. We used to bring furniture from home for our sets. And if there was a wooden floor called for in the show, it would just be a painted brown floor. I decided that we could do something better. So my first floor was in Gaslight, and it was very simple, again naive, and I felt that an improvement had been made. So that's where I started my set decoration life, and producing and set decoration have been mostly what I have done for a long, long time now.
I'm hearing a theme, and I think it's probably indicative of people that get involved in community theatre. You said, yes, I can do that.
Yes,
and
always
there's always a need. So, when there's a need and people that really love being involved will tend to put their hand up and just say, yes, I can do that. And there's a lot of learning. There might be some new learning that happens. Yeah. But what a great way for someone that is interested and engaged and wanting to be able to learn new things. It's a great opportunity. So tell me a little bit about things people may not know about you, ways that you've supported the theater that maybe the audience doesn't see, because they tend to see the show, but they don't see all the behind the scenes things, or how you get the word out in the community. What are some of the things you've done there?
One of the things that I've done over the last 12 months is try to get out and visit organisations that are in Scarborough. Rotary was one, COP was another, and retirement homes where people are still able to run a fairly active life. The audience would never know that, of course, because what I'm trying to do there is get out our personal word so that we can accommodate new audience members. And my greatest delight will to bring in new volunteers. Those folks who've potentially just retired, aren't quite sure what they want to do, but they want to do something. And again, I can do that. You don't need the experience, you just need the interest and the ability to be able to say, I can do that.
I was just thinking that, finding more people that will say exactly the same thing. How wonderful is that? So, thinking of all the shows you've been involved in, can you think of a production that was just brought back many fond memories? You've talked about the opportunity of working with John Caldwell, but perhaps where you got some hilarious audience reactions, things like that. Just, those fun memories that are always just so wonderful to us.
Well, actually, he was a experience that I had, if I may go into that one more time. He was a bit of a curmudgeon in his ways, and he always wanted people to follow the pace of the show, and he would say, pace people, pace all the time. And one evening when we had just got to our opening night, I was in the audience and so was he. And he obviously thought we weren't doing the show as quickly as he would like, so he smacked his head. Nobody possibly noticed this but me. But if anybody else did notice it, they'd wonder what he was up to. I knew. But there have been other occasions when we've had Q&As. Q&As. We get a little bit of a sensation going on every once in a while, although they tend to be the same questions and answers that we do. Every now and again someone will not let things go. They will ask you the same question over and over. Different people will answer the question and still they're not happy with it, but I find in a lot of cases our audience is very accommodating and they're very keen to know that we do these things because they think we can do more than they can, because we have jobs and we do this too.
I think sometimes audience members are surprised by that, to find out that it's all volunteer.
Absolutely.
And we have day jobs.
Exactly so, yes. So, and we just do it for the love of it.
Exactly. And some people think we're crazy for that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned about, for instance, making improvements when painting the set floor. Can you tell us a little bit about your approach to designing a set and doing the decor and to producing?
Maybe I'll start with the producing then.
Sure.
As the producer of a show, it's the responsibility to find everybody to fill all the crew positions. So first thing to do is read the script and see what's happening and who we need, though generally we need the same number of people to do the tasks: costumes, hair and makeup, lighting, props and painting. And there are others, of course, that fall into these categories too. So having established the people that we need to do the tasks, it's trying to find the best people who are available to do the tasks. And as is always the case, the good people, they're signed up for doing things well in advance. So you're walking a fine line between asking people too far in advance because they say, can't commit that far, and leaving it till a day late and they say, oh, if you'd have told me yesterday, I could have done it. So you're just kind of trying to feel everybody out. You know the people that you've worked with in the past who are reliable and good, so you always try and bring in the best. You always are willing, though, to take new volunteers. So we try to fit our new volunteers in where we can, and again, you don't need any experience, just interest. So, having accomplished the task of finding the crew, because I do set decoration personally, I read the script again in a slightly different way. I need to know who the family is, or what location we're working in, what decade we're working in, what country we're working in. Is the family poor or rich? Are they English speaking? All of these things may not seem like they have anything to do with the set, but actually they do, because they indicate how the furniture will look and how the costumes will look as well, which is all the visual that the audience will see. The task then becomes finding various items to do the set decoration. Keeping in touch with all the other groups is an important task here as well, because now we're using each other's furniture, props, etc. Because Marty Millionaire, who used to be our big go-to, isn't around anymore. And I'm sure we're all missing him still, even though it's 4 or 5 years since we were able to use him. So keeping the network alive so that you can tell a number of people at any given time that you're looking for a particular sofa, or maybe it's this kind of a table that we need. And again, the odd thing about doing set deck is that it's not always perfect pieces that you need. Depending on the location and the era that you're in, items tend to be a little on the scruffy side. And I did a shopping trip to Goodwill and was looking for a lamp, and particularly a shade for a lamp, which looked a bit used, shall we say. So I found one which was perfect for what I needed. The colour was great, the size was great, and it had a big stain on it. And it was just wonderful for what I needed. And God bless her, the lady who was selling it to me said, "You do realise there's a stain on this?" Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. And she's kind of gone, "Oh, get all kinds in this store." But making it right doesn't mean making it look beautiful necessarily. So that's why you need all this background information as well.